Hello Blues, good evening, it's Wednesday. Tonight you have myself, Tom, Dan and Dave, and we have a good chat about all things City, and of course we run through the terrible performance against Wolves, and fair play to Wolves, they did really well and got through and did everything they needed to do to beat us. We take some questions from our fans today from the Manchester City, Manchester is Blue Facebook page, and we discuss all things City and Champions League. Should David Silva be dropped? Why is Pep not playing the youngsters as much as he could be? And of course our defensive frailties and then what we can do over the next couple of months. So listen, I hope you like what you see. If you do, leave us a comment. I really like that. And thank you very much and have a good night.
Fantastic. So I think we've got to start with the bad news, haven't we? I think we've got to start with the fact that we lost to Wolves.
Yeah.
In a shock defeat. I think it's quite easy to say that. I don't think I'm being out of order by saying that at all.
Well, you predicted it.
I predicted. You know what? I'm never ever predicted another game for as long as I live. I can't remember the last time I did it, and it's for this exact reason. I'm an absolute jinx when it comes to it. Horrendous, absolutely horrendous. It's the I think it's the first home game we've lost in the Premier League for so like I think it's like is it the fourth time we've lost in the Premier League under 61 games with Guardiola?
Something. It's a good couple of years, isn't it? It's I don't know. There just wasn't one positive to take out of that game at all. And even the Norwich game a couple of weeks ago, we didn't play great, but we went away from home and we still scored 2. So there was at least a positive to take out of it. There just wasn't one positive to take out of that game on Sunday at all. We were flat. It was worst I've seen us play in literally years.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. And it's mad to think, isn't it? We've just kind of reverted into this thing. What's happened? What do you put it down to? It's just I hate to use the phrase "bad day at the office," but there must be something else there kicking around in the background. So of course that attitude from the team.
Yeah, it's not a bad day at the office for me. It's not. We're not going the way of Spurs. You know, it's not like Pep's lost the dressing room or anything like that. But I think we've somehow got a defensive hangover that I think that the team don't know when they're not comfortable about who's at the back right now. You've got a brilliant goalkeeper, but then after that you've got 2 in the middle who just the rest of the team just aren't comfortable with. Walker, from what I'm hearing now, shouldn't have even been playing on Sunday. He had a stomach flu or something like that. Then you play Cancelo out of position, which I think was unfair of him. And then Zinchenko, who was fit, why wasn't he playing either? It's just, I don't know. We set up that game, I felt, that the rest of the team, the midfielders and strikers, wingers, just weren't comfortable with what was going to happen at the back. You could feel it coming. Like, I'm 5,000 miles away when I watched the game live, and I could sense it. I knew what was going to happen. You just knew there should have been 3-0 up in the first half.
Oh, terrible.
So it was just terrible throughout the game. And I think personally this stems from the lack of confidence who's in the back right now. That, oh my God, we don't have Laporte, we don't have Kompany. Something's going to happen at the back, and we're not going to be able to deal with it. And absolutely credit to Wolves, they played us off the park, and we couldn't deal with it.
It was horrible. It's the first time we got beat by Wolves away from Molineux in 20 years. That gives you an idea about the Wolves fans and how they were celebrating. And I tell you what, fair play to them. Like you say, we can't take anything against them, can you? Really, from that, It wasn't scrappy. The first half, how we weren't, like you said, 2 or 3-0 down was horrendous. And I kind of felt to myself, do you know what? This is great. We'll go into the second half. Quick early goal. We'll shut them up. We'll watch it on Match of the Day. We'll be happy. No. Traore had different ideas, didn't he?
Yeah. Great player. There's little gem, I think, and from what I've heard from Wolves fans, that it's and Borough fans as well, that it's just his consistency. That if he could play like that week in, week out, he'd be getting a move to a very, very big club, because he absolutely battered our defence on Sunday. But given the next game, I don't know who Wolves are playing next. He'll probably have a 4 out of 10. He was a 8 or a 9 out of 10 on Sunday. He was fantastic.
It's funny because I'm looking at the stats in front of me, and everything I read in the stats tells me that we should win this game comfortably. 76% possession, 18 shots. Here's the killer stat: 2 on target. We had 9 corners, and equal fouls. We had 11 fouls to their 14. So all these stats are jumping out to me, saying, you know what? Actually, it's not clinical enough there. What do you reckon, Dan?
I was just about to say, I was about to go into that then. Let me put some up to you both. Do you reckon, bar the defensive errors that we've had, you put into the mix how unclinical our midfielders and the strikers are? Do you not reckon that affects more of the game? Because if you think of the Norwich game, we lost. I think we had a fair few shots there and only put two to bed. Spurs game, we had a whole host of shots and only so many of them were on target. The Watford game, prime example, have a whole host of shots, put them away, put the game to bed. The Zagreb game, a whole host of missed chances there. We could have easily won that 4-5-0.
Yeah, that's
and then the Wolves game, both goals were very, very late into the game. You put 2 goals to us in that game. I don't see a 2-2 draw at that. I see us either a 2-0 victory or a thrashing if we had put some of them early chances away. So part of me obviously blames the defence, because the defence has been a very, very poor so far this season. But it shows how much we miss Sane to a degree. An extra winger on that left who can whip some balls in, but it highlights how key De Bruyne actually is. We all know how world class he is, but as soon as he's not in that team, we are dead on the water. We really are. We've just got no creativity. David Silva looks a shadow of himself for the past 6-7 years. This season, I've hardly really seen out from him.
Do you think that's a bit of an overhang towards impending retirement? His legs have gone a little bit. Are other team members coming over to take over? Do you think he's kind of mentality-wise he's done now?
Well, maybe, but he hasn't really been dropped for any games. He's had the odd game where he hasn't started or he hasn't played as many minutes as he has done. But Bernardo Silva's playing, if not similar amount of games as he has last season. Mahrez is obviously getting a few more games, but a completely different position. Can't say Foden's coming to replace him or anything like that, because he's hardly played. And I think it's just with... For me, I don't like slating the lad because he's a great player. But Gundogan, he's been played in not the right position. He's been played an attacking midfielder, and that's not who he is. He's not a defensive midfielder, but he's not an attacking midfielder. He's just that...
This is funny to say. He's actually just a midfielder. You're exactly right, Dan. He's not one or the other.
You're right. I still don't know what his position is.
He's just a midfielder. And you've hit the nail on the head. I struggle with Gundogan. I really do, and I think you're right. I don't think he really knows his position. What he's fantastic at is coming on in the second half of a game when we might be struggling a little bit and we need that little bit of energy, that extra player in the box. He's brilliant at that, and now he's being asked to do 95 minutes twice a week, and I don't think he can do it. And I've said many times as well about David Silva that you look who he plays when he plays his best is with Kevin De Bruyne, and before that, who he played his best with was Yaya Toure. I'm not taking anything away from him, but Merlin needs a really good player around him as well to get the best out of him.
Yeah,
and that isn't Gundogan, I'm afraid.
No, I was really hoping this game would be Mahrez's game. I was really hoping for him to be the De Bruyne, the catalyst for a big win for us this Saturday, and I just didn't see it. I just didn't. There was just not just him, the whole team, but him. I was really looking forward to watching because of his coming through, and And obviously Aguero has been doing fantastically well, scoring one goal, brilliant. And then it's all of a sudden it's just dried up and stopped. And it's who's going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and take it through? Does it have to be an 18-year-old from Stockport that does that? Why not? You're seeing Chelsea, these young lads at Chelsea coming through and they're smashing it at the minute. Does City need UEFA to slap a ban on us just to see a bit more fight in there? Or I've just been a bit melodramatic here, just to, it's just a flash in the pan. Everything will come back and we'll start hitting form again. I don't know. It's something we just missed something that I didn't recognise that team at that game, and that worries me a little bit.
I think it is. It's go on, Dave. You go.
I've read a lot this week about ego, and I don't believe that with our club, with our team, with our players at all. I think they go into every game to win. I don't think Manchester City are the sort of team who just show up and expect to win. It's a lot of people have been saying this week. I don't agree with that at all. They just weren't at the races.
I agree. We worked too hard to be the type of team for me. We worked too hard as a team. Possession, 76 possession. You can't tell me we could turn up and be arrogant. Well, I don't believe that one. That's talk sport, that, isn't it? That's sport to a T. Wind up.
He played for me, and I know I wanted to talk about this, a few weeks ago on our last VlogCast as well. But for me, it comes down to team selection, and when you've got a Walker this week who was obviously not fit and he went off at half time. You've got a Portuguese international on the bench who you've signed from Juventus playing from the start and playing in his correct position. I just think Pep is struggling a little bit right now with who are the right people to play. Why wasn't Bernardo playing? I thought it was because maybe Pep was trying to protect him a little bit with everything that's going on right now with this whole Twitter thing. But he would have. You saw the reception that Bernardo got. When he came on, there was people, showing signs of support as well. Bernardo should have started that game because he brings that energy. I've always thought he was a starter, and he was, and then now he's not starting again, and I don't know why. Go back to the Norwich game. I was telling you two over and over again. I was livid that he played Gundogan, and you had a fit Kevin De Bruyne on the bench. You always play your best team, and I think Pep, for me, is just struggling a little bit right now as to who he needs to be playing for each game, and he's got it wrong twice now.
What do you think? He's managing egos rather than the actual teams itself? If that makes sense. I think he's managing the attitude of the personnel he's got rather than the actual when I need to play what the best team is to win. Could be very. I
think so. If you read that report this week about, it's a really good article actually about how he locked himself away after the Everton draw 1-1, and then we went on a win of 18. He needs to do that again. And from what I understand, that the chairman came in and chatted with him as well, and it's almost like Pep needs his own pep talk about stop buying into what everyone else is saying and just play your game. We won everything last year, so let's just do the same again. You've not changed as a manager. Just stop feeding into ego and just play your strongest team.
I don't know whether the international break's a good thing at the moment. In fact, I know it's not. For me, I'd rather play this Saturday, jump straight into it, get another win under our belt, and then push on. But we've got to win for the week now, haven't we? And obviously the teams have gone away and potential injuries and coming around. And who was it? Did I see Germany beating Argentina 2-0? And Otamendi's playing at the back at the minute. That's not going to do him any favours.
And he's on a yellow card. Which means he's probably going to be sent off before the end of the game, knowing Otamendi. It's what I just said to you before we got on the call. His confidence, if it wasn't shot before, will be totally gone. So what do we do? And this is a question that one of our fans posed. Do we continue with Otamendi, or do we think this season let's just really blood a couple of our younger players? And if we don't win, I don't think the fans would be that bothered about that. I really don't. We want to see our homegrown talent come through, knowing that they are going to win stuff. Bellis and Garcia are going to be fantastic. So what? Let's blood them.
Absolutely, it's a really good question. That from I think it was Gearoid Hanrahan. Wants to discuss the lack of game time for Harwood Bellis and Eric Garcia. I can completely empathise with what I saw this weekend just gone. I'm inclined to say stick them in. They can't do any worse. They genuinely can't do any worse. The game we played, was it Preston?
Yeah.
They both played in.
Yeah.
They look great. They look good. You know, I know it's Preston, fantastic, but you know what? Give them some time to play. The problem is, I say this, I want this. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Pep just values the team he's got too much, but we need to be seeing these young lads coming through. I mentioned before about what's happening at Chelsea. They've only got the opportunities because they can't sign new players, so they have to bring the juniors through. That would be a fantastic opportunity for these guys to get an opportunity to play, wouldn't it? Would be brilliant.
Yeah, I just think I'm not really bothered about. I'm not even going to say the name that team at the top of the table right now. I'm not even focusing on that. Let's just focus on the fact that our defence is very, very poor, and we've got two young players, one from the Barcelona La Masia Academy, one completely homegrown, who played a couple of games now and are obviously ready. And if they make a mistake, then so be it. It's fine. I think it would be really good for the board and for Pep and the coaches to understand us fans. We're not bothered. We love where we are right now, but you know what? Let's play a couple of these young players and let's give them some time. And if we don't win anything this season, so be it, because it'll give them the experience that next year we'll go in and we'll dominate and we'll win everything.
One thing I love about City fans, and one thing I used to love watching, is the young lads coming through and playing. They always get patience from the City fans. Yeah, they're going to make mistakes. It's one of them. You just get on with it. Crack on. City fans accept it's a learning curve for some of the juniors coming through, and I'd love to see it. I just know Pep, being a serial winner, will want to play the best team he's got, and if that includes playing somebody out of position, Fernandinho, for example, he'd do that rather than bring these two lads in, which frustrates me a little bit. But
yeah,
I can see we know what his targets are. He wants to win things. He won't go to the board. He won't go to Mansour and say, listen, it's okay, all right, Shaky, what we're going to do this season, we're not going to do anything. I'm going to bring in all the juniors through. He's going to go like, what? I'm not paying you this much to do this. Go and win as a competition. And that's the. I don't know when we're going to see these young lads come through. It frustrates me a little bit thinking about it. Do you think we had a great question from Theo Lawrance about realistic signings in January? Can you see us with having Garcia and Bellis, Harwood and Harwood Bellis? Can you see us making any defensive signings?
I think the only reason personally we're not going to make signings because of a statement I think the club made straight after Cancelo signing, where we just haven't got the funds available, despite us having billionaire owners to actually go out and sign someone. Garcia definitely needs time. He was great in the games he played last season. He was great in Preston. I think Bellis is a good player. I've seen him play a couple of times, but he's just not ready to be thrown straight into the games. But Garcia, I think Otamendi needs to be dropped and Garcia needs to come in, even if it's for one game. If we lose, just to get him feeling that back line, who he's going to play with. He plays with him in training, and if he's good enough to be on the bench a couple of times, if he's good enough to start against Preston, you might as well play him against a team in the Premier League. However, the only realistic signing I can see in January, and I'm going out on a whim here, depending on what happens at Anderlecht, Big Vinny K coming back. I tell you what, it's like what Dave said, that'll be bigger than the second coming, that, because we really do need a centre back. Whether Laporte gets back from injury and he's firing on all cylinders before the end of that January transfer window, it doesn't matter, because Otamendi is a shadow of what he has been. Stones exactly the same. He's just been injury after injury for Stones, so he's just not getting that presence that we need from him that we had a couple of years ago when he looked like he was going to be the real deal. We just need someone to captain that back line, settle us down, and just marshal our defence. And it gives us then another half a year just to go out there and look for that Vincent Kompany replacement and a proper centre-back replacement. And it won't matter if it's the only signing we need, if we only signing we get, because it's the one signing we need. We did it this season with Rodri, replacement for Fernandinho. He's had an okay start to the season early on. Now, more than ever, it's a centre-back, and we need it more than ever. And I think with Finney came back, it's like what the other Dan said in the admin group, whether he'd be confident enough to come back and align with everything that's going on, it doesn't matter. The love he'll get from us City fans out on that pitch, as soon as he's read on the team sheet, his confidence will be fully back and he'll be ready to go. And we need someone like him. And I tell you what, I would get on my hands and knees and kiss every person's feet walking into that ground, just if it means Kompany came back.
Couldn't agree more.
You know my feelings of Kompany. I love that man, and we've said in the past, we spoke privately about him coming back, and it would be. I don't know. I'm probably gonna get shot at here by a load of City fans. I really am by saying this, but Vincent Kompany's a winner, a serial winner. He puts his mind to something. I get the feeling he'll go ahead and do it. I can't see him coming back. I can't see him. I think his time's done. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. It's hard to say it because I know what's happening over at Anderlecht at the moment, and things aren't rosy. But Vincent Kompany's not the type of person to turn his back on something that's not going right. Do you know what I mean?
He's not, but he's not going to leave Anderlecht.
No.
But what if they sack him? And
Well,
and that's where I'm at. That I think that there's every chance that he's going to get sacked because he just doesn't seem to be able to turn this around.
That is a different story.
And if he gets sacked, which I don't want to happen, I don't, because he's God. But if he does, then what better thing to do than to come back to the place where he is adored? He will sharpen up not just the defence, but he would be absolutely in that dressing room again.
Yeah,
it's the next round of Champions League next year. That was the one thing missing off his CV at Manchester City. I want it to work out for him at Anderlecht, but it doesn't. Please just come home, Vinny, and win the Champions League next year.
Do we know what his role actually is at Anderlecht now? Because
today he's just player.
Again to something. Is it just player at the moment? Is that
player? Yeah, the facing a fine Anderlecht because he didn't have the right UEFA Pro license, meaning technically he shouldn't have ever been manager. So I think it was about a month ago now. His contract as manager was basically written off. He's just a player now. But at the same time, he's injured, so I'm not 100% sure exactly what his role is at this present moment in terms of right now. But as far as I'm aware, he has nothing to do with the managing role. I might be completely out there.
He's just worth wheeling out for the dressing room, isn't he? Never mind being injured or not.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, coming back in January might be better for his coaching because look at Arteta. Who would have ever thought he looked like he could be a fantastic coach? And I tell you what, he's learning from the best. Vinny, if he came back in January, if everything went completely upside down at Anderlecht, whether it's playing or managing, come back to City, get playing again, even if it's on and off, just fill in that line, and also become part of like a training program with Pep and Arteta, because I think.
Yeah.
Even if he never goes on to managing the youth side at City or anything like that, just learning from them two, whilst in presence of his second home, basically, it's going to be better for him, I reckon. I think the Anderlecht job came too early for him. I think he should have stayed at City this year after finishing his season with City and just maybe coaching just a little bit, part coaching with the youth team or something like that, and then go for the Anderlecht. I think the job came too early for him. But like you say, he's God though, so whatever was best for him really at that time. He's not one to make a stupid decision. Just things don't always go the way you want them to, do they?
You could almost, it's funny you say that, you can almost see a natural progression there, can't you? Pep goes, Arteta steps in. Who's Arteta's number 2? Is that Kompany to step in and for when Arteta goes? And there's a conveyor belt of quality people coming through there. I don't know, it's an interesting one, isn't it? As City fans, I'd absolutely love it. I'd love Kompany to come back. I'm really disappointed he left in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, and it shows how much we've missed him. Even with Laporte, we've really, really missed Kompany. That leadership, just an absolute brick wall in defence. The second part of last season, we need that back. Otherwise, I kind of see the same thing happening over the next few months. We're going to have another Wolves. We're going to have another Norwich. I hate saying it, but I think we are. You
can't see us keeping clean sheets, and you can't see us now. I can't see us going ahead and smashing the league like we did last in seasons gone. It's going to be an absolute fight, and I think it's, Liverpool are looking with they've had some mazzle, haven't they? Crikey, they've had a couple of good looks. You make your own look, etc., but they've had some belters. Especially when you look at what City haven't had as well. I'm finding it hard to disagree with Liverpool fans saying it's their year at the moment, because it's just everything is just falling into place for them. But only 8 games gone, plenty of games to go for. So
plenty of games. We have to now beat them home and away. That's just a given. We have to beat them home and away, and we kind of need that team, that Trafford Rangers, to do us a favour on. Is it Sunday they're playing them? Is it Sunday?
Yeah,
and I never thought I'd have to say what need a favour from them, but we kind of do.
They're going to get stuffed out, United. Let's face it. God, they're going to get beat 5-0.
8-0 United.
I think it's going. Yeah, I can see Liverpool absolutely battering them on Sunday.
In years gone by, I would have dreamed for that. Now it's just I don't want it. We had another question through from Theo. How long do you think it'll take us to win the Champions League? How long is a piece of string?
See, the way I look at this, that other team, Trafford Rangers, they had that Eric Cantona who thought was going to be the answer, and they were going to win in Europe. And they got close, and it was a fantastic team. Let's not get away from that. It was a very good team, and they didn't win it. Cantona left, and they brought in a load of other players, and then they won it. Honestly, even with the incredible players that we have now, I don't think we're going to win it. I just have this feeling that we're going to be a little bit like United, and we're going to have a brilliant team that should have won it, and we're not going to do. And it's going to be a surprise team, maybe in 5-6 years, when the Garcias and the Bernardo Silvas, hopefully we're still there, and the Fodens and the Edisons, when they're in the late 20s, Garcia's, Bellis, in their mid-20s. I can see it being more that we are 5-6 years away. I think it's going to be another generation of City players who win it.
So potentially without Pep.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? The furthest we got in the Champions League was under Pellegrini, and we should have beat Real Madrid.
We should have.
That tactics that he used at Bernabeu were just ridiculous. They were absolutely there for the taking, Madrid, and we didn't do anything.
Bloody hell, so frustrating. So to answer your question, Theo, 5-6 years, hopefully, ideally. You look at it under Alex Ferguson's tenure at United. What did they win it twice in 30 years?
Twice, and he was was it 15 years, 14 years before he won the European Cup?
Yeah, something like that.
And I just think it's going to be the same at City. Number one, we have to get used to playing in Europe. We're still a young team. And a lot of people don't really understand that when they're saying, oh, you should be winning it with the players you've got. Well, as a club, we're not used to it. We're still getting used to how this works, of playing on a weekend and on a Wednesday. It takes a toll. And if you asked Ferguson, I bet you would say exactly the same thing, that of course it was going to take time from me taking over for me to win in. You know, it was 15 years. If we can do it in 15 years from the takeover, that would be in 4 or 5 years' time.
For me, I have to completely agree with everything you've just said. It would definitely not be in the near future. And I think, personally, the best chance, bar that semi-final, was either last year or the year before. That was our best team with the current best batch of players. Because now I think it will be exactly the same 5 years. Because I don't think we'll win it now with Aguero in tenure. I think he's at that age where it's either now or never. Same with David Silva, obviously, for obvious reasons. Walker, I think Cancelo's a future prospect for Walker, because I don't think Walker's going to be here for the next 2 seasons in crucial first team place. I think it will be Cancelo. But we just, you know, how many great players have we lost over the past 3 years? You know, those ones that we could always rely on. Not world class, but would always put in a good performance. And you're going to hate me for saying it, Milner always gave 100% in a game. Kolarov, you know, is somebody who will always, if we ever struggled at left back, I don't think ever since we got rid of Kolarov and Clichy, we ever had so many problems at left back. And I'd even say as far as losing Dzeko. Because we've only got one main way of attacking if we're going just with one striker up front, and that's just playing it along the ground. We've got so many good players that can cross fantastic balls into that box, but it has to be driven. And yeah, we can put them away if they're driven, but that's the teams just know to get men behind the ball then. And I think that's what's starting to happen. Every team's starting to understand if we don't have somebody like De Bruyne whipping the balls in, it'll be fine. But if they do, they know to get every man behind the ball. And I think with an extra player in the height of Dzeko and somebody who doesn't score goals prolifically, but knows when to get a goal, it's sort of one we're missing. And I think it will be another 4 or 5 years before we get a team that has all that characteristics. And it's just, I don't see it. I really don't. And definitely not under Pep. I think it'll either be next season or season after and Pep will go. I think we're riding the look now, especially with everything going on in his personal life. And I think the stress of this season, as much as I hate to say it and how much I follow and love that man, you know, for what he's done for this team over the past few years, it will be under him.
You can see him having another holiday then.
I can. Yeah, I really can.
That's a really good shout. Dzeko would be licking his lips at playing at this team.
Dzeko would bang in 30 a season.
Yeah.
Easy in this team. Easy. And Dan's just hit the nail on the head. Can you imagine De Bruyne just banging in those balls, you know, with height into the box? Dzeko would just be having a field day.
You're right there.
And it's so funny because every fan says the same thing, that we, you know, when it gets to the summer and we're looking at transfers and we keep thinking he's going to buy a tall striker, he's going to buy a tall striker, he's going to buy a tall striker to do something a little bit different rather than it just being pass, you know, and bang it into the box low. And he's not going to do it. You know, you look at Barcelona, he had Ibrahimovic, big lad, 6'4", 6'5", didn't fit in. Messi didn't want to play with him, and he wouldn't fit into the way that Pep wanted to play. And it's just not going to happen. We're always, and I love the way we play football. I love it, but it would be good to have a tactic B if tactic A isn't working. And that's what we needed against a team like Wolves, who had 6'2", 6'3", players at the back on Sunday. Imagine if we could have thrown a Dzeko on for something like that and get some balls into the box and cause some chaos. And we didn't, because he won't play football that way. And you have to kind of respect and admire him for that in a way.
Yeah, there's a lot of stubbornness there kicking around. What about Alfing Haaland's son? He's doing all right at the moment, isn't he? Could he be a future one for us?
Well, he knows how the back of the net is, doesn't he? You know, he's got you for obviously 19 years old, but it's one of them. You don't know until they're in the team, do you? You know, the team he's in, it's not exactly a world class team. It's not even a proper Premier League team that he's playing for, but he's still banging them in. But you know, it's all the pressure. You know, the Premier League's the greatest league in the world. even the most brilliant players come here and still struggle. It's one of them. I'd love to have him here though. Just a bit of legacy behind the signing as well, and maybe not in quite the same fashion, but give it back to United a little bit in the same way Keane gave it to his dad, but not obviously as malicious or anything to do with hurting the player, just with a few goals in the back of the net.
Yeah, I think I'll be quite satisfied, won't it?
Mm.
We had a question through from Steve Hakin, so thanks very much for that. He wants us to have a quick chat about the subtle differences between Fernandinho and Rodri, and he has the impression and the belief that the differences between the two of them might be allowing us to have a bit of a soft centre when it comes to our midfield and defence, and obviously conceding goals. What are your thoughts about that?
I will say this, because I read that question an hour ago. Fernandinho is a better footballer, in my opinion. He's a better footballer. He has a better vision of what's going on around him. Supported the attack a little bit more than I think Rodri is doing. He's banged in some beautiful and important goals for us. Rodri is definitely still trying to find his feet, I think, even though I think he's been a 7, 8 or 9 out of 10 most games that he's played. I think he just needs time, but I would agree with what the fans said there, that we do look a little bit softer with him there, but I think what Rodri is going to bring is he just needs a little bit more experience, and that goal will have done him some good. But it's the same when we go for corners and things now, and what we've just been talking about, we don't have any height. Thank goodness we've got someone in the team now with a bit of height. His job now is to get, banging 5-10 goals over the course of a season with his head, and be that player that we can rely on. At the end of the day, it's just he's a new player, and there isn't that comfort factor from the defence like there was with Fernandinho last season, and it's gonna take time for Rodri to breathe that confidence into the defence, in my opinion.
Very good shout. I think if we had a solid back four and he was to drop straight in there, we could get away with 1 or 2 of his mistakes to soak up. Yeah, really good points.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I completely agree. Fernandinho, definitely a better footballer. The way he can switch from defensive to attack mind in an instant. Rodri, for me, I agree with the fact he's still finding his feet for me. We're only, 8-10 games out of all competitions that he's played in. And it's one of them where you could arguably say he's been 8 or 9 out of 10, but overall, as in the team performance, his performance would be a 5 or a 6, because his individual performance is brilliant, but he's just not working as hard as Dino did in that midfield and switching from defensive to attack. Yeah. And I think he just needs A, to find his feet, but B, just feed into how Fernandinho can play. And maybe, you never know, if we get a couple of centre-backs fit and ready to play and playing that defence very well, maybe even try a different formation where you've got the front 3 and 2 holding defenders in Rodri and Fernandinho, and maybe De Bruyne in the middle on his own, just to sort of give it a new perspective on our mindset, and maybe just to support our back line a bit more, so we're a bit more protected, just to feed a bit more confidence into the back line, and then switch it back round to how we used to play.
Really good suggestion. Really good suggestion. I think with that kind of formation as well, we could afford to have one of the younger lads in there.
Yeah.
If we had a bit more support. That's a really good point now. Yeah, well said. I
like that.
Yeah, I do too. It's a good shout. Is Pep on the phone? Let's get him in.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a mask.
Yourself in that changing room, Pep. We've got the answer for you, pal.
So what do you think of this Van Bronckhorst, who has now part of the Manchester City global club, that they've brought him on to learn the ropes? We were talking before about, we're looking at Pep and maybe Arteta and then Kompany, but with them bringing Van Bronckhorst, do you think there's anything to be said that maybe they're bringing him in because he's got that Barcelona X factor as well, that he could be the next manager? Or are they really looking at him that he's going to take over New York City FC or Melbourne or whatever it is?
I can see him going to one of the City group. I don't know. There must be something about him to bring him in. They must know something. There must be something behind there. You won't just bring him in for the sake of it, would there? There's something. They're going to put him in somewhere. I don't necessarily think about City. I think that's Arteta's job, unless, like you say, he brings him in as a number 2 to Arteta, because that's the only reason I think Arteta's still with us and not gone to Everton or wherever it might be. Because he still might, for all we know. But I think he must have been guaranteed a role, because I think Pep's already said that he's good enough to manage now. Obviously, he would, wouldn't he, because he wants him to stay, he wants to feed him up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he is a potential number 2 for Arteta. Potentially, yeah, absolutely. Do we know where is he actually at the City Academy doing Van Bronckhorst? Is that where he's based himself?
That's my understanding, yeah, that he's learning from the best, basically, and I'm just wondering whether that's, is he going to stay in Manchester, or does that mean that he's going to go to one of our other clubs around the world?
He's a very Pep type player as well, isn't he? Like Arteta, very technical, very good with his feet. You know, there's a family history here, isn't there, of potential managers? Never mind players. Good
player, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, interesting. You know what? Let's wait and see. That'll be something for us to talk about in the future. As it's good to see Phil Foden training with the England squad this week. I don't know if you saw the pictures on Twitter.
Yeah.
I feel really happy for him. He looks happy as well, which is obvious. But is there something there for him, do you think? It's got to be soon, hasn't there? It's got to be soon.
Yeah. I mean, Dan said at the start of this call that, Merlin's been off the pace a lot, and we don't know what's going on there. And I can never have a bad word to say about Merlin, because for me he's the best player who's ever put on a blue shirt. But there's something there, and when you've got a player of Phil Foden's potential right there, who has been learning from Merlin for the last 3 or 4 years, stick him on. Because he'll have that energy, and he has that vision, just like David Silva has, to make that killer pass, to make those correct runs into the box. And we can't play any worse than we did on Sunday. So we've got to start playing him. We have to. I don't think he'll ever leave. This isn't going to be a Sancho.
Yeah,
I don't think he's not going to Germany, or anything like that. But he needs to start getting more time in the Premier League, in the FA Cup when it starts, in the Champions League. And maybe it's the other way around. Maybe this is Foden starting the vast majority of games and coming off after 70 minutes, and Merlin coming on, and just running his heart out for 20 minutes and seeing what he can do.
I think the only reason that Silva's staying in that first team is captaincy, for me personally. If he didn't have the captain's armband this year, I think we'd see more of Foden. I really honestly do believe that. And I'll even go out on a whim and say in the next 2-3 years, seeing what I've seen of Foden in the little time that we have seen him, he'll be close to, if not the same as David Silva in the next 3 years. My words, he will be. The flair that boy has with the ball of his feet is phenomenal. You just don't see enough of it. And Pep, obviously, there must be something us fans are not seeing behind closed doors, because for what we've seen on him, any other team, no matter, even Liverpool, I'd go out and say that God hopes he never ever plays anywhere near with them. He'd get into their teams. He really would. But there must be something behind closed doors that he's not fitting into Pep's style of play. It's just not. I just don't see why, though. That's the thing. I think that's all the frustration all of us feel, isn't it, really? But I completely agree. I think it needs to be the other way around. I think David Silva needs to come out of the team for a little bit, make it feel a bit more like every game really is his last. And I think we might see the best of him before he leaves. And like you say, he's been learning from the best in Silva anyway, Foden. So what's the harm in putting him in? Because it can't be any worse. If not, we'll get a lot more energy from that midfield with him in.
Would you drop Silva for Crystal Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really would.
We need to put in a performance against Palace. Have they won the last game? They're going to come out firing.
We
need to put in a performance.
Yeah, completely agree. When's that next weekend?
Yeah, week on Sunday, I think we're playing. Is that right? Or a week on Saturday?
19th. It's the 19th, so 10 days.
Yeah.
10 days. Hopefully no injuries. Hopefully Kevin De Bruyne back.
Stones as well, hopefully.
Stones as well. When's Laporte back? Do we know how long he's out for?
February, mid-Feb, I think it was the initial
Jan,
assessment.
Feb for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he needs De Bruyne fit. He needs Bernardo Silva playing, and if that means that we drop Sterling, then so be it, because Sterling was friggin' hopeless on Sunday. And I think that pressure for Sterling is that there's a reliance on him now to get just as many goals on as Aguero, and I don't think it sits well with him. He had a shocker on Sunday. Mahrez potentially keeping his place, but I would definitely be playing Foden instead of Silva. I like the idea of playing two defensive midfielders instead if Stones is back, and having Bernardo Silva playing as well instead of Sterling or Mahrez. Energy is what we need.
It's what we need straight off the bat, is the energy, because we can't rest on the fact that we've lost 2 games from poor play this season. I think Wolves was the kick up the backside, as much as I thought Norwich would be, but we got 2 goals, like you say, we got something out of that we could take home. I think Wolves now may be just that kick in the backside that gets us playing like we did against Watford. Get the players up and running, saying, look, you're not invincible. You won everything that domestically you did last year. You've won the league two years in a row. Means nothing. It's a new season. You go out there like you've never played for us before. You put your heart on that pitch. And I think it's what we need. I think we need energy. I think what we do need is a bit more consistency up front. With Mahrez and Sterling still playing, I'd throw Jesus in. I really would. And I'd play Foden, Bernardo Silva in that central role with Rodri filling in behind. No matter what, if Stones is fit or not, I'd still play Otamendi and Fernandinho, but with that bit more energy in midfield, because those two, Bernardo Silva and Foden, the energy will tire that Palace defensive line out massively. And if we get Sterling making runs in, the same as Jesus, it will tire out even more. And that's when we start playing our best football. We just tap them in.
I'd like to see Jesus start. Yeah, you're right there. I really would. I think he's got goals in him. Yeah, I can't really argue with any of that, lads. Great points there. Anything else to add before we wrap up?
VAR.
Oh, we're not doing.
Gundogan. UEFA official, we could write a whole new podcast.
Speak about UEFA. They've bloody charged us, haven't they, for throwing objects at the Zagreb fans?
It's so right. I think it was stupid of us. They obviously started the Croatians, but it doesn't matter what it is. If we do something back, of course we're going to get fined, and we're rightly so fined. You know, some fans we should have just been the bigger section and just, you know what, they're going to be aggressive, they're going to be taunting us, they're going to be swearing, they're going to be doing Nazi salutes, for Christ's sake. Do we really want to be, as fans, stooping as low as that? Just take what they have. Yes, it may have come to the point that people who threw stuff back may have been hit by the objects they were throwing. You know, it's a tricky one. I wasn't obviously as close to them as that. But it don't matter if Liverpool fans had been doing it. I know there's a bias to everyone thinking that Liverpool are getting a lot of luck and officiating of going all their way. If Liverpool fans did it, they'd get fined. And I think it's the correct decision. It's awful to say.
No, I agree. No, we can't do anything naughty. It's not within our nature, is it? So it's disappointing to see. So hopefully we'll come through. But no. I think if you're happy, lads, we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Roll on.
Predictions.
Roll on Palace. We just need a perform. All I'm looking for is a performance.
Yeah,
that's it.
Too early predictions then. Should we talk again next week and see how we get on?
Yeah, let's see what injuries we get back from internationals. And has Otamendi been sent off yet? Let me. I
don't know. It's 2-1 last time I looked.
Who knows? That been headed by Otamendi from 40 yards. He meant to clear the ball, ended up going in. He needs a bit
all right, it's 2-2. Argentina have pulled it back.
You watch Otamendi with the goal, was it?
They've took Otamendi off and scored 2 goals.
I thought it was as no. Ocampos got one in the 85th minute. But yeah, Otamendi, I can report, did not get sent off.
I tell you what, though, lads, from that game, I watched the first half. In terms of just before we go, defensive signings. What's the options of a signing Bayern Munich Sula? He looks. I know he's obviously going to be the future of Bayern Munich, but he looks like the perfect sort of pet player. He's huge, built like a brick house, and he's got some pace on him, and he knows how to defend. I would love that lad in our team.
All right, well, I'll throw another one at you. What Muller wants to leave in January because he's not getting any playing time.
Oh God, no! I've never rated Muller. Never rated Muller.
I do see. That's the thing. He doesn't look like he's a really good football player, but he really is. He's clever. He's a really clever player.
This is going to turn into the Messi Ronaldo situation, isn't it?
Just the problem I've got with Bayern Munich is it Hoeneß, the moron of a chairman, and trying to negotiate with him. Because as soon as we start to negotiate, they'll say, give us Sane. And we'll say no. And they go, right, well, not interested then. It'll be impossible to sign anybody from Bayern Munich. Not while we've got Sane playing.
There's part of me that thinks, is that a bad situation?
I'd rather have Sane. He's a good player.
Yeah, I'd rather have Sane without a doubt. But it's getting to that point now where I just edge him more to more believing that he's going to leave us anyway for Bayern.
Yeah. They're just shit stirring them, aren't they, Munich? Bloody hell.
I think I am here as well.
Well, I hope he stays and I hope he signs a new contract because we put one on the table. He's only got a year and a bit left in his contract. So if he's not signing, we need to sell him.
Yeah.
He's going to get as much money as he can out of us, isn't he, for obvious reasons. And I don't blame him for that whatsoever. I've just seen Argentina have Rojo and Otamendi playing. Bloody hell, they've done well there, haven't they? 2-2. Crikey, fair play, lads. All right, yeah.
2 of the Manchester flops.
I love it. Absolutely love it. We'll wrap up, lads. Have a fantastic evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best, boys.
City till we die.
Catch you later.
See you later.
See you in a bit. Bye-bye.